It's 11 o'clock, and I'd like to start with today's daily dose. It's Motivational Monday, and we've just started talking about the 7 habits of highly effective people, and let's just recall the 7 habits. Habit 1 is be proactive. Habit 2 is begin with the end in mind. Habit 3 is put first things first. Habit 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Habit 6, synergize. Habit 7, sharpen the saw. First 3 habits are what we call private victories that grow you from dependence to independence. And then habits 4, 5, 6, 7, the rest of the habits are what we call public victories as you grow in interdependence with others. Okay, you mix with other people. Okay. So habit 2, begin with the end in mind. It's actually very, very straightforward. We practice that all the time. Okay, it means start with a clear mental image of your destination. It's so basic. All of you live in a home. Okay, so construction requires a precise blueprint so that the seller can price the house, so that the buyer knows what he's buying and he can buy, and so that the builder knows exactly what he has to do to construct. All of us as children, we built jigsaw puzzles. Okay, the jigsaw puzzle starts with what? You have to know what the final complete picture is. Then you assemble the jigsaw. Google Maps, which many of us use daily, works when you know exactly what is your destination. So we understand, we practice begin with the end in mind. Okay, but habit 2 is not just about a transaction or an activity. It is actually your whole precious life. You could have a whole series of transactions that mean nothing. Imagine your epitaph. What is written about you at the end of your life? The last thing you want to do is to spend your life, as they say, climbing the ladder of success, only to find that you've reached the top. When you reach the top, that your ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Okay, so begin with the end in mind is actually easiest to understand, but it needs a lot of work to execute effectively. Habit 1 is not works in progress. Like the other habits, you can get better and better at it. But habit 1 is actually the first step before the journey to effective success can begin. So take with driving a car. As a driver, as I improve as I drive. That's why the more experience you have, the lower the insurance loading. Okay. But habit 2 is actually first getting the driving license. Unless I have the license, I cannot get the insurance. I'm not allowed to drive legally on my own. And getting the license takes hours of concentrated, intentional effort. Okay. So if habit 2 is beginning with the end in mind, okay, that exercise is actually a very, very important exercise that requires a lot of effort. And so in the rest of my sharing, I will share with you how extensive this work is, habit 2. So if your life were a computer, habit 1, which is be proactive, says you are the programmer. Habit 2 says write the program. And the program is your personal mission statement. I'll talk a bit about the personal mission statement at the end. Okay. Now, habit 1 says the best way to predict the future is to create it. Okay. Habit 1 is about the freedom to control the outcome. Okay. And if we talk about creation, okay, everything is actually created twice. There is first the intellectual creation, and then there's the physical creation. First, you need to have a mental image, okay, that picture, and then the reality. Okay. So when you create a jigsaw puzzle, first you have the mental image of what the final picture is, and the reality is actually putting the pieces into place. So we talked about habit 2 being writing the program, okay, which is the blueprint. Okay, this is where you decide what your life is about. Now, in habit 1, we talked about values and principles that form your character, who you are. We saw that character, the iceberg, the 90% of the iceberg is where your seeds of greatness are. When you know your values and principles, then you can prioritize and you can practice making this more solid and a habit of yours. So let's look at the end you have in mind. What do you want? Okay. Stephen Covey talks about existing social mirrors that we have. Okay, your parents, your siblings, your teachers, leaders in your life, the media, heroes, models, all these influence you greatly, and actually, if you don't think for yourself, can result in a mistaken identity. You want to be like them, but you're not created like that. Okay. Personal leadership is lacking in our lives if we live scripts that are handed to us by others. Okay. You know, in ACS Independent, the motto is to be an officer, a gentleman, and a whatever. So what if you don't want to be an officer or a gentleman? You mean you've got to be a scholar before you're successful in life? No. Okay. So it's very easy to live scripts handed to us by other people, because that is what we first learn. And then when we adopt these scripts, we get the acceptance of people, we get their love, we get a feeling of worth. Okay, but our life is determined by other people's desire for us. Now, there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, provided the scripts are consistent with what we value in life. So as your self-awareness develops and as you consciously begin with the end in mind, we want to make sure that the scripts we live by are what we actually value. So that exercise in habit 1 of determining what your values and principles are very, very important. Okay. If you adopt scripts without examining them, then what will happen is you will be rooted in dependency, insecurity, vulnerability. Every time someone says something about you, you are affected. Okay. So the stakes are too high. Your whole life is at stake. Okay, to do this by default. So part of the exercise is actually to get rid of these old scripts or old what we call paradigms. Those of you who've done some coaching with me from Timothy Galway, we talk about self 1 and self 2. Self 1 is the one that talks at you and says you can't do it. You can't do it. Look at what happened in the past. No, it's too dangerous. And we need to overcome that self 1 that's constantly chatting to us. Self 1 that's based on our past. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to use imagination and creativity to write new paradigms that are more effective and in line with our values. Okay, in line with your values. So remember, in habit 1, we said that you have the freedom to choose. Okay, you have the freedom to choose what to focus on. When you live out of your memory, you focus on the past. When you live in your imagination, you focus on the future. Okay, so that's why we talk about having dreams. Dreams is about imagination. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to act in accordance with the image of yourself that you wish to live at the end of your life. That is why the exercise about writing an epitaph is very clear. What do you want to look like at the end of your life? Okay, that's the image, and you work towards that. Bill Hybels said, vision is a picture of the future that produces passion in you. So you want to have a clear vision of the future with your imagination that creates passion in you. Okay. In the 4 crucial characteristics of a leader, this is what we call a compelling desire. It's a compelling desire that energizes. And I remind you of the quote I said from Napoleon Hill, who said, cherish your visions and your dreams, as they are the children of your soul, the blueprints of your ultimate achievements. So that blueprint is your personal mission statement. You know, if you go to talk to any of your friends who are working, you go to that company and you ask different people there, you know, well, what is your mission of your company? You would get various versions. Okay. Now in New Skin, especially those of you who are in our group, if someone asks you what is the mission of New Skin, you can state it straight away because we have memorized it. You know, the New Skin mission statement. Okay. But what is your personal mission statement? And this is what we call the definite purpose statement. Okay, that is one example of a personal mission. I have a personal mission statement that is different from my definite purpose statement, which is more specific to a shorter time frame rather than a life time frame. Okay, but it's a similar thing. Okay, you can expand your definite purpose statement. Okay, because it's really important in the self-confidence formula. Remember, we said second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. And thinking of the person I intend to become is that definite purpose statement. Okay, so for those of you who don't have a definite purpose statement or personal mission statement, you want to speak to your sponsor. You know, we have run definite purpose mission, definite purpose workshops. Okay, and that's really important for you to have a focused time to go and do. You can do it on your own, but it takes work. Okay. Now, how does this relate to leadership? Habit 1 says you are the creator. Habit 2 is the first creation. Okay. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. It's all about leadership, because a leader asks this question: what are the things I want to accomplish? Okay. So leadership is the precursor to management. Without leadership, managers cannot succeed. Okay. You know, some of you have heard this quotation: management is doing things right, leadership is doing the right things. You want to make sure that you're doing the right things for your life. Okay. So begin with the end in mind for eternity, for your life on earth, and also for life's events. Okay, even for, you know, a seminar you want to have, you can apply this principle. What do I want? What is the end result I want? What is the outcome I want for the people, for me? Okay, and work backwards. Okay, so I'm going to end with a story. It's a very short story from this book's Stories from a Man's Heart, and the title is What You Remember Most. Howard Hendricks, one of my professors at Dallas Seminary years ago, told us a story one day in class that I've never forgotten. He told us about twin boys who were former students who stopped by his office after class one day to talk. During the course of the conversation, Hendricks asked them about their father, a prominent Christian leader. Guys, what do you remember most about your dad as you were growing up? After a short pause, one of the young men said, I'll never forget the times he would spend wrestling with us on the floor. Even as teenagers, he would clear out the den furniture and roll around the floor, laughing with us. The other son reflected, what I remember most about my dad was when we were at high school, I threw a paper route and I would have to get up early in the morning to deliver the paper. Each morning I'd walk past my dad's bedroom door and it would be cracked open. I'd see him there, down on his knees, and I knew he was praying for us. That's what I remember most about my dad. Then Prof. Hendricks delivered the punch. He leaned across the podium, peered over the top of his glasses, and asked the penetrating question, by the way, what will your kids remember you for? So, what do you want to be remembered for? Okay, you begin with the end in mind.